Boutique with your energy and ascension forecast for Sunday, February 12th to Saturday, February 18th. So last week we had the full moon in Leo really kick off, really trigger, really activate some hurt, some grief, some sadness, all up in the feels. Of course, we're going to be sitting in that full moon cycle until the next full moon. And that full moon in Leo definitely provided with the triggers and activation points in order for us to start peeling back the layers around our heart space, around our ego self, around our pain, our trauma, around our fears. Why? Because those particular aspects are currently junking up and blocking our heart chakra from vibrating at a level, a frequency of happiness, of joy, of creativity. Of course, when we go out of our way to kind of build up the walls and strengthen the guard around our heart space, we do so trying to prevent ourselves from pain, from trauma, from hurt, from the outside world, when realistically speaking, all we're doing is building a prison around our heart space, cutting off that playful energy, cutting off that creativity, cutting off the ability to truly stand in our real, raw, authentic power and align with our internal compass. Of course, our emotions, our heart space, our soul space being the inner guide to what it is that we need to pursue from here. That full moon in Leo definitely activated something in the timeline as well. We've seen alterations to the matrix. We felt the time warp take place. The Schumann Resonance actually captured some pretty interesting, unique individual energy signatures. And it would kind of suggest that we are recoding, especially when the moon moved into that Virgo energy. Virgo, of course, an earth energy ruled over by Mercury, the mental plane. We are very much talking about mind over matter when we talk about Virgo energy. And we were definitely getting down to the nitty gritty of the script, the programming in our lower mental plane, in our narratives. And we definitely seen an overriding of those particular programs. So we felt a lot of pressure in the head over this past week. And it's an interesting dynamic because the world is essentially spinning in our inner realm, yet going very slow and almost at a standstill in our physical realm, and that can be very jarring. However, we have Mercury on the move, moving into Aquarius energy on the 11th. And of course, if you're joining me here today in the chat Friday evening, first of all, I want to thank you for being here. Secondly, I want to say, how you feeling? We had Mercury, ruler of the mental plane, ruler of information, communication, how it is that we truly express ourselves, conjunct, sit next to, bump into Mr. Pluto, the god of the underworld, who, of course, rules over transformation. They are sitting together, teaming up at these final degrees in Capricorn energy. And Mercury, of course, having a little bit of a chat with Mr. Pluto before he moves on into a new life lesson, into a new vibration and frequency, into a new mission, a new purpose in that Aquarian energy. So let's talk about Mercury conjuncting Pluto here for a second. Do you feel dark? Do you feel like you got a little bit of an attitude, like you got no more F's to give, like you could care less about anything? That would be Mercury conjuncting Pluto. Even more than that, we're unearthing some details, especially about our own perspective, our own understanding, our own consciousness, about the programming that we have to bust through, that we have to break, that we have to kind of recode, if you will. There is a truth emerging, a bitch slap of reality, if you will, that doesn't feel so good. We're kind of obsessed with trying to find the inner truth, the meaning, the purpose. And as of right now, we are kind of scratching the surface on needing this reality check, not to show us where it is that we're supposed to go, but more so where it is that we're not supposed to go, what it is that we got to let go of, what we got to end, we got to close the door on. Keep in mind, Mercury has been in Capricorn energy since the beginning of December of 2022. We went retrograde in that energy December 29th. And, you know, in Capricorn energy, yeah, we're trying to think logical and practical, and we're down to the nitty gritty details of our lives, especially where our long-term plans are concerned. But more than anything else, we're talking about what it is that we have to wrap up, what it is we have to close the door on. Mercury will not ever bump into Pluto in this Capricorn energy again. And I think that that's very important. It's very telling because, of course, Pluto is wrapping up his particular time in Capricorn energy as well. He's been there since 2008. In March, we will see him move into Aquarius energy. Of course, he's not going to get very far before he goes retrograde and backtracks and eventually creeps back into these final degrees of Capricorn energy, because we have a lot of junk to clean up. We have a lot of trash to take out. We have a lot of endings that we actually have to finalize. So many of us so freaking eager just to move on to the next thing that we could care less about properly wrapping up the karmic chapters, the life lessons that we've been working on since 2008. And we are going to get double whammied, bitch slapped with truth and reality a couple of times between now and when Pluto actually moves into Aquarius energy full time in 2024, because we're too eager to move on to a new beginning, to creating something new without giving the proper ending, the proper closure to some of the things that essentially have made us who it is that we currently are. So this little pop off between Mercury and Pluto here today, very intense. Definitely the most negative type of narrative, negative attitude, negative perspective that we could have right now, but it's absolutely essential for us to sit in that funk, because that's how we turn that pain into a source of power. It's how we turn that darkness into a source of light. That's how we really, really realize what it is that we are bringing to a finality within our current realities before we go off into the sunset of Aquarian energy and we start building a brand new version of the reality in which we're truly trying to manifest. So we do have a lot of pressure in the heads, a lot of intensity going on. The not so nicest vibe, I will admit, but we have some unearthing to do in the deepest part of our psyche, which of course Pluto rules over. He's the god of the underworld, the god of the shadow realm, of our unconscious selves. And that requires us to get a little bit real, a little bit more honest with ourselves, to bring in those aha moments, that profound epiphany into our lower level intellect that Mercury rules over, and actually see where it is that our energy, our effort, our narratives have been keeping these darker parts of us alive and well for far too long. And we absolutely need to come to some kind of agreement on what it is that we need to end. We need to put it to a death. We need to close the door on before we go ahead and we start creating something new. Now, if you need to go listen to the astro forecast that I put out on what Mercury moving into Aquarius is going to do for us, please go ahead and do so. It's a very light energy. We're moving from an earth energy of Capricorn to a air energy of Aquarius, the highest form of our intellect. It does come with a lot of very positives, such as a thirst for knowledge, progression, innovation. We're busting through the limitations, the restrictions, the challenges that we faced and we identified well in Capricorn energy. It's very visionary. We are being downloaded with the, highest forms of intelligence, aha moments, epiphanies, visions, in order to inspire us to do better, to move on, to create better, to see what it is that's actually possible for us when we bust through the ceiling of the limitations that our lower level mental narrative has constructed for us under this Capricorn energy that we've been in since December 2022. So we do have that going on. The negative sides, of course, is there's a lot of pressure in the head. The wheels are just a turning. There's this sense of urgency taking over as well. We'll talk about that. It's a lot of that's contributed to the timeline jump that we just kind of took, but we're also like wrapping up the end of this calendar. I know I sound repetitive each and every week when we talk about these things, but it just baffles me how quickly people forget. Like I'll get messages like, Monday or Tuesday so early on in the week of saying, I'm so exhausted. I'm at the end of my rope. I feel like I'm living the same day over again. Like, what is the deal? And I'm like, dude, you just listened to me rant about this in the Ascension forecast. Like, we're wrapping up the end of a calendar. Why should you have energy? Why should you have F's to give? Why should you have motivation and inspiration right now? Certainly doesn't seem like any of the qualities and characteristics that one would have when we're going through a death. And what is an ending? It's a death. It's a closure. So I feel very repetitive in these forecasts now. I think I've been doing them for too long. Because I sit down every time to get my notes together, and I'm like, I'm basically a broken record at this point. But nonetheless, I will continue to, do what I got to do, even if it means repeating myself, because obviously people need reminders. But like, you should not be highly motivated or have any energy or be extremely excited or feel alive right now. If you did, I would say that you're living in delusional land, because we're just not in the energy of the universe to support those particular, qualities and characteristics. So like, don't get down on yourself. If you're feeling awful, feeling sad, feeling like you're living in Groundhog Day, feeling like you have no F's to give, feeling like you're numbed out because you really don't care about anything, congratulations, you're exactly where it is that you need to be. Okay? Don't put too much energy into it. The energy will shift. It always does. We go through this every year. You could probably go back in my older videos and listen to videos in a similar timeline of the calendar and have me repeat this exact same thing, because there's a lot of repetitive cycles and seasons that come to an end, that die off at this particular point in the calendar. Now, granted, we have different planetary aspects happening this year compared to this time last year that is going to kind of make or break the deal. We'll talk about them because they do add a little bit of spice into this, dark night of the soul type of thing. But what I'm going to say to you is just accept where it is that you're at. Stop trying to force your energy into something that it's not supposed to be for this particular point in time. Stop getting down on yourself. If you're confused, good. Congratulations, you're supposed to be. If you're exhausted, good. Congratulations, you're supposed to be. Stop beating yourself up over it. You're creating more of an issue than there needs to be. You're actually intensifying the bad vibrations that are trying to break themselves out of the pattern right now. So lean into it. If you're feeling angry as F, then feel angry as F. If you're feeling discontent, feel discontent. Stop trying to change it. Stop trying to change it. Sit with it. Ask it what it wants to teach you. Our emotions are our greatest internal compass, and so many people just resist feeling the way that they're actually feeling, wanting to change it into something different. Why? Until you've learned the lesson, you need to sit in the funk. Until you understand what your pain is trying to teach you, you have no business trying to move on from that. If you wake up in a bad mood and you're trying your damnedest to move through your day being as positive as possible, you are denying part of yourself. Did you ask yourself why you woke up in a funk? Did you explore your dream content? Did you just accept the fact that maybe you're meant to have a not so nice day? Did you just realize that you're exactly where it is that you're at, feeling exactly what it is that you need to feel in order to have the breakthrough aha moments that are destined for you if you just get real and raw and vulnerable with yourself? So this is where we're at. And yes, we are going to feel a very dramatic shift when Mercury moves into Aquarius, but we have a lot of other factors that are going to kind of make or break, depending on which way you look at it, the mental situation that we're currently moving into. So let's talk about it. What do we got going on this week? Well, first of all, we're building towards the last quarter moon taking place in Scorpio energy on the 13th being a very magically divine day, Scorpio energy being very dark, shadow work up to the nines, where a very deep transformation is about to take place. What is the deep transformation taking place about? Well, we got to go back to the new moon that we just had, because essentially this is the last quarter of this lunar phase that brings things all together. Scorpio energy and Aquarian energy are fixed signs, so there is a resistance to change. However, Mercury conjunct with Pluto right now, unearthing, scratching at the bottom of the barrel where our hidden unconscious selves are alive and well with the programming of our egos right now. Likely over this weekend, as we build towards that crisis point of consciousness that the last quarter moon always is, we will have some very powerful revelations. Now, are they going to be like a spark of divine magic coming out of the sky where we get downloaded with clarity on the bits and pieces and the puzzle pieces that we need in order for us to know what our soul's mission is and what our contract is and all the answers to the questions? No. It's not. It's not going to form that way. It's not going to manifest that way. If anything, it's going to manifest in fights, in arguments. Why? Because relationships need to die. You're holding on to particular energy exchanges that don't need to be alive and well right now. It's going to emerge in situations, information and details coming out of the woodwork that totally change your perspective and understanding about what you want, need, and desire. Is it going to feel good? No. It's going to feel like you're going to feel rocked. As you should. We are at a breakdown time as we're preparing for the breakthrough time. But many of us are resisting that breakdown energy. Just try and stay positive. Just wear a happy face, a happy smile. Just continue to push through it, denying the strongest emotions that are cryptically guiding you to where it is that you need to end things in order for new things to actually have a space to arrive in. So the last quarter moon in Scorpio, going to be hella dramatic, super intense. Scorpio moon always is intense. We're very fired up. We're very passionate. We're obsessive to the point where we want to understand what the F is going on inside of us, what the F is going on outside of us. We want answers. We're the detectives of the zodiac under the Scorpio energy. And the last quarter moon is always a very intense point where we are reflecting over the past month. And even more than that, because this is Scorpio energy, we are going back to the eclipse seasons. Okay, so yes, eclipse season of 2022, but realistically, this kicked off in the eclipse season, the fall of 2021, when the true nodes of the moon moved into this Taurus and Scorpio axis, and we had all of those lunar and solar eclipses on that Scorpio and Taurus axis. This is about what needs to end, what needs to die, what do we have to close the door on, where do we need to nail that sucker shut in order to have the space to create something new. This is what this whole particular life lesson has been about. And we're about to learn the hard way, because that's the way that humans learn. Once again, in this particular lunar cycle, what it is that we got to let go of, what it is that we're resisting as far as change goes, where it is that we have to unearth some dark truths, some hidden realm truths, not only about ourselves, but the inner workings of what it is that we're overly attached to and afraid to let go of. That is where the power is. That is where the aha moment is. And it's not going to feel good. And it's taking place right before Valentine's Day. If you subscribe to that, just, tomfoolery. Who would ever put a day of love in Aquarius season? My goodness, you cannot become any more emotionally detached than being in Aquarius season. And Valentine's Day has a bad rap anyways. It's mostly about death and murder and blood. But if you want to wrap it up in a loving situation and a little gift in order to make you feel good, by all means, go celebrate that. But the energy of the consciousness that focuses in on Valentine's Day creates a lot of intensity and pressure around a vibration that isn't meant to be about love. And therefore, you have people feeling very torn, already conflicted, already in relationships that they shouldn't be in, constantly being pushed to end things that shouldn't even be continuing at this point. And then you're going to throw a day of twisted love in Aquarius season that has no emotional perspective or attachment at all. And we're supposed to be feeling good right after last quarter moon in Scorpio? I don't think so, my friend. Scorpio energy is about that soul merging connection, that level of commitment and intimacy that our souls long for in another individual. And even if you're in a happy, healthy relationship, there may be a part of that relationship that doesn't feel soul merging. And again, we're about to move into Pisces season. We have Venus in Pisces right now, who is so delusional about what love and romance and happiness and pleasure is that it's almost laughable. And really amplifying the fact that even if we're in particular happy, healthy relationships, there's still part of us that feels alone, that feels disconnected, that feels like we're on a quest looking for a deeper meaning, a deeper purpose. And because many of us are not open to sitting with those not so nice thoughts and feelings that are actually the directional truth that we need to be sitting in, we put the rose-colored glasses on that the Pisces energy offers us to delude ourselves even further and disassociate with our current reality and convince ourselves that we're happy and that everything is good and grand and great. When realistically, the more we continue to lie ourselves, delude ourselves, continue to convince ourselves otherwise, the longer this particular process of aligning with your happiness is going to take. And let me just throw it out there. Not that I want to get too ahead of myself, but this is the last week of Aquarius season. And you best believe when we move into Pisces season, things are going to get even more exhausting, even more emotional, even more confusing, even more, I'm going to say, on the darker side of life. And it really confuses me a lot because, everybody in this new age spiritual community, Pisces season, oh, time to dream a bigger dream, time to get in touch with your real fantasies, time to be, artistic and creative. And sure, those are the pros of it. But how come we're not talking about the fact that Pisces energy is shadow work? Pisces energy is soul contracts. Pisces energy is about undoing, unraveling, getting broken down so that we're cracked wide open, so that we're real and raw and vulnerable enough to be brought back to life, resurrected when the sun moves into Aries season and we kick off the new astrological calendar. Why does everybody out there in the new age and spiritual community paint Pisces season as this very light and fluffy, mystical, romantic type of energy when realistically we're going into the depths of the trenches in order to fight off the last pieces of our delusional egoic selves so that we can be re-inspired, reignited under the new energy that is coming at us when the new astrological calendar kicks off? I don't know. Maybe it's just because everybody wants to focus on the light and bright part, but to me, that's delusional. That's exactly what the Pisces energy represents, is delusion, disassociation, avoidance, non-committance, escapism. That is the real lesson of Pisces season. And so if you're already feeling pretty low and pretty sad and pretty depressive and pretty confused and pretty exhausted and pretty at the end of your rope, well, guess what? You're really going to have to dig deep and muster up a brand new strength because you still have a month of dark night of the soul to go before we're brought back to life again under the Aries energy that kicks off at the end of March. So, I mean, we have to put in perspective here that I hate to be a Debbie Downer and a negative Nancy, but you really shouldn't feel all that good right now. Again, if you say that you feel amazing, you feel inspired, you have physical energy, and you know what's up and you know what's right and everything is hunky-dory in your life, first of all, congratulations to you. I'm semi-jealous, even though I'm not really that jealous of a delusional state of awareness because there's something going on that you're either not being real with yourself or you're not in alignment with the energies. There's something going on there. There's a disconnect. There's something not right if that is the energy that you're currently sitting in and stable in. Now, I'm not saying that we're not supposed to be, happy. Of course, there's happy times. Of course, you're going to get, maybe one day, an afternoon where you're feeling pretty good. Everything is clear, but that's not sustainable. And for so many people I hear, especially through the comments on some of my videos, like, I'm really confused. I'm really conflicted. I'm at the end of my rope, blah, blah, blah. Good. You should be. That's exactly where the energy is at. That means you're aligned with the cosmos. But there's also the flip side to that, where it does kind of seem that people have the expectation of happiness and contentment and peace. Those are the things that we strive for. It's not the things that we're going to be living in all the time. It's not sustainable. If we wanted to be happy all the time, in love all the time, in peace all the time, we wouldn't have incarnated in these human meat suits. We would have stayed home in unconditional love that our internal soul is made up of. We come here to feel the bad. We come here for the negative. We come here to put into perspective the appreciation that we need to have for the unconditional love, the unconditional happiness, the unconditional peace, the unconditional contentment. That is a state in which we originate from, not in a state that we're meant to be here. We're warriors of light. We have to fight. You don't fight in happiness and contentment. Nobody would ever fight if they were happy and content, right? There's nothing to fight there. You have to fight for those things. And those things are just a very small piece of our existence. There are more lows, more pain, more trauma, more suffering, more discontentment, more confusion, more conflict in life than there is happiness and joy and pleasure. Our goal is to try and incorporate as much happiness, joy, and pleasure into our lives that consist mostly of the pain and the struggle that we need to have in order for us to do the work, to fight the war, to actually return to source. So I invite you to feel whatever it is that you're feeling. If you're feeling bad, own it. If you're feeling sad, own it. Sit with it. Ask it what it has to teach you. So I know that was a little bit of a rant and a half, but anyways, I don't have very much homework to cover this week. First of all, I just want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for liking, for sharing, for commenting, for subscribing. I want to thank you for jumping over to my Patreon. I want to just thank you. You may have noticed I started doing some shorts. YouTube said to me, hey, you're eligible to make shorts and hopefully make some money off shorts. And I said, awesome. I have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm going to try it out. Now, granted, I've only made 8 cents this week off of the views from my shorts, but you know what? It's a work in progress. I want to thank you for supporting that, for liking that, for commenting on those. I'm trying to, drop little bits of information in those shorts as well. I'm definitely going to be making some changes to the content that I put out there. I'm approaching my death anniversary on February 18th. So that for me is kind of the day that I decide to change my reality. And I'm building towards that. And my reality is definitely going to be shifting a lot over the next, I'm going to say, month. So definitely be prepared for that as well. But I just wanted to say thank you. So the Ascension symptoms. First of all, let's talk about the fact that this past week, yes, we were bombarded with solar flares. The solar wind is very high. We have lots of solar spots popping off from the sun. As I kind of briefly mentioned, we've seen the evidence of the timeline shift of the matrix being kind of rewritten in the Schumann Resonance. If you're not a Patreon subscriber, you wouldn't know the information that we've been sharing over there and the physical ailments that some of these particular solar flares have created. I do invite you to jump over to Patreon. That's kind of where I'm basing most of my attention and focus. But there's some interesting things, first of all, that I want to talk about. I want to talk about manipulation. Why is that, you may ask? Well, because I'm about to rant about this New Age spiritual community again. So there was this image floating around on social media of the Schumann Resonance, who, yes, 100% had very, very distinct, unique, original energy signatures captured over this past week. No denying that. But somebody went ahead and embellished, however you say that word, embellished the chart just a tad and overlaid a picture of quote unquote Jesus. I have huge problems with this. Huge problems with it. First of all, it's very delusional. It's very manipulative. Secondly, the image of Jesus is so incorrect that it makes me sick. Thirdly, he's a fictional character, okay? The whole Bible is allegory. Jesus is a state of being, not a purpose, not a person, a state of being, a state of consciousness, if you will. So there's a lot of, and I don't even want to say Bible thumpers. I don't even want to blame the Christians. I just want to blame the collective out there that have such misconceived ideas about religion and the Bible and Jesus and whatever, that the New Age and spiritual community is really thriving right now off of this whole revelations, apocalypse, end of times. And the fact that people would go out of their way to take a scientific measurement, such as the Schumann Resonance, and twist it all up and intertwine it with the quote-unquote face of Jesus is absolutely sickening. If you do not see the fear-based propaganda that is being pushed through religious context right now, it's absolutely ridiculous. Now, shout out to one of my VIPs who said that they couldn't wait for my rant on this, spy balloon. Like I mentioned over in Patreon, there's not much of a rant. It's an object that people are trying to make into something bigger. Just keep in mind, people, that any time that there's something that goes on in our storyline that people want to connect to the quote unquote end of days in the Bible, please realize that there is a script playing out. Okay, script, sure, is scripted, planned event. The whole Bible is a scripted, planned event, an agenda. So if there is something that could possibly be connected to something that was said in the Bible, please understand that the Bible was written by the evildoers in order to trick you to honor a God in which is not actually God, first and foremost. Secondary, there is a parallel to some of the situations going on in our collective right now to the word and the gospel in the Bible, because guess what? They are bringing it to life. They want you to believe a certain timeline. May I remind you that we are about to have huge examples thrown at us through Project Bluebeam that is going to represent a catastrophe, a crisis, if you will, that is all fake. It's all an illusion. So please do not fall for these gimmicks, because that's exactly what they are. Okay? There's no relation to the energy signatures in the Schumann Resonance, to this mysterious imagery of quote unquote Jesus. There is no connection to what was written in the Bible to this freaking balloon. Okay? Who cares if it's a spy balloon? Do you really think the Chinese government would be so stupid to be that evidence? Okay, they don't need to put a balloon in the sky to have the innermost details of our lives. They already have it. Okay, if you have a cell phone, if you're on social media, they have everything that they need to know. They really don't need to put a spy balloon up in the air. All that is a distraction. All that is another seed in order for people to argue and debate over. It's another divisive tool. Please understand that this world is created in order for us to go against ourselves and against each other. And the minute that you see a storyline pop off where there's two perspectives, there's two different sides, there's two different, ways to debate this, please understand that it's a scripted event. It is a scripted event. Please do not give them your energy. This is exhausting at this point. I don't know how people continue to fall for this bait. That's exactly what it is. It's bait. So if you were looking forward to my rant, that was it. It was an I'm not even going to say it, an object. Can't speak today in case you haven't noticed. Mercury's really effing with me. But anyways, it's an object that someone thought would be really funny to put in the sky and have everybody light up over it. Everybody divided over it, divisive over it. Everybody with a different thought, a different opinion over it. Doesn't matter who's right, doesn't matter who's wrong, doesn't matter. We live in an illusion. It has no bearing on the greater, grander storyline. I don't know why people care. I do not understand why people care so much. Especially fighting over God and fighting over angels and demons and the devil and this and that. Like, who really cares? At the end of the day, we're all going to die. We all get to go back home. You're going to find the truth out then. Why spend your life arguing over a construct that they created in order to keep you in a state of division? Like, I don't get it. To me, it's like this cluster effery of a circle F that we just keep getting into. And I just don't understand why we just can't just stop talking about it. Just don't even give it any energy. Give it no attention. Doesn't matter. None of this matters. So please stop getting worked up over such things. I'm going to try and stop getting worked up over trying to explain why you shouldn't get worked up over these things. But yeah, it's just anything that happens out in the collective right now. I always get a couple of messages about, well, what are your thoughts on this? And where do you think this is coming from? And who planted this and blah, blah, blah. And honestly, I'm just like, I don't even care. Like, it really does not even matter. If you can't see clearly on what is going on in the world today, I don't know what to say to you. Like, I really just don't, I'm at a loss for words, and it really doesn't happen too often. Maybe it's because I'm lacking the energy, again, to give Fs, because who has Fs to give at this point? Mercury and Pluto popping off, making us really just, at the point of exhaustion and exasperation where we're just like, you know what, who cares? Doesn't matter. Nothing matters. Doesn't care. Let's just live. Let's just be. Let's just concentrate on things that aren't outside of us. Let's concentrate on creating happiness and joy and safety and security and stability in our lives. If everybody would just mind their business and just focus on themselves and stay in their own damn lane and create a new earth, a peaceful state of life and being within themselves, my goodness, we wouldn't have any of these problems, right? You got to work on yourself. Be the ripple that you want to see extend out in the collective. Be the change that you want to see in the world. It all starts with us. And all of these things are merely distractions in order to keep you from creating your own power, creating your own reality, creating your own little piece of paradise. And let me tell you, you can have that little piece of paradise and have heaven on earth before you actually die and return to paradise. You get to have that. You just have to choose it. And to choose that means that you have to just give it an eye roll. The minute that you hear something in the news that everybody's talking about and has opinions, but just eye roll it. Doesn't matter. Does not matter. Let's move on. Anyways, like I was saying, the solar flares, the solar winds popping off definitely had an impact on our state of being, on our physical health, on the ascension symptoms that I rattled off in last week's forecast. We will see those particular energies manifest in our physical bodies, especially over this weekend, as we build towards that last quarter moon in Scorpio energy, where there will be a dramatic shift in our state of being, and we will essentially transform into a higher vibration of self, a different perspective and understanding, and a different timeline of reality. We will be locking that in. So hopefully, I'm not saying that we're going to get our, F level back anytime soon, but it is definitely going to change what it is that we're focused on, change what it is that we're thinking and feeling. Like I had mentioned, the physical exhaustion, it's likely going to stick around until we enter into the new astrological calendar. Our inner realms are working a mile a minute. Our consciousness expanding, our thoughts, emotions expanding, our physical bodies not expanding. Okay. The reason when we have very low physical energy, when we are in a state of physical exhaustion, is because the body needs to stay as still as possible in order for these light codes that are coming in our inner realm to actually lock in and anchor into our physical bodies. So if you're wondering why it's hard to get out of bed, or wondering why you don't have the energy to do anything more other than, the minimum of your daily requirements of tasks and chores and commitments, it's because you're going through a major upgrade right now. We just shifted into a new timeline. That's evident. We have this new timeline to adjust to, not to mention the time warp of the fact that we're supposed to have 24 hours in a day if you believe in linear time. And for some reason now we're not operating on a 24-hour day system at all. I don't know where they went. I don't know what happened. It very much feels like our dream state or our sleep time has been minimized so that we don't have the opportunity to fight wars in other realms. We're very disconnected from the other realms as of right now. It's very hard to communicate with not only our higher self and our intuition, but our guides as well. There is a disconnect for a reason. We aren't supposed to be dependent on information so much from outside sources, from higher realms of intelligence. And I often talk about it, and I know it goes completely against, my business model and my talents and my skills, but I really do not believe that we're supposed to have as much insight about the future as we currently have. It takes us away from, being in the present moment. And sometimes we need to be cut off from our intuition, from our ancestors, from our guides, from other realms of intelligence in order for us to use our own brains, use our own heart spaces. So many of us have become reliant in this new age and spiritual community to consult the tarot deck, to go for a reading, to look at your chart, to, meditate and align with the higher guides, not realizing that the power isn't in those particular tools. The power is within us. All you have to do is be present and sit with yourself and be really real with your thoughts and feelings, and you'll gain all the answers and perspective that you need to know. But so many of us do not trust ourselves, constantly looking for tools, for resources to gain wisdom and knowledge outside of ourselves when everything that we need to know, everything that we need is within us. So I feel like the time warp, and again, I think it's, they took away from the time that we're able to have in a sleep state in the astral realm for a reason, is to ground us here on this earth plane and get used to the new matrix coding, the new reality emerging, to get us very rooted into our physical bodies. We talk about ascending all the time, moving on up. Ascension means moving up. We talk about ascension all the time. Most people have no clue how to ground. Most people have no clue how to be happy within themselves, how to be in their physical bodies, how to work through the negative thoughts, the negative feelings. They have no clue what it means to root in their physical form. And so many people open those higher chakras, third eye, crown, and then wonder why they get into a state of spiritual psychosis. How the hell are you supposed to open up your mind, your consciousness to other forms of thought, reality, and situations without knowing who it is that you are and having a grounded point to anchor your physical body in while you explore the higher realms of intelligence without going crazy? How do people expect that? And this is what you're seeing now in the spiritual and new age communities. Everybody's so eager to open up their third eye and to be able to, figure out their past lives and to channel with other star seeds and all this foo-ha, this kafooey, if you will. And they don't have a sweet ass clue who it is that they are. So many humans here trying to go back into the spirit form, not realizing that they're going to kick their own higher ass self when they get back and realize that they wasted a trip to Earth trying to become what it is that they just came from. We're here to be humans. Lean into it. We're here to be messy. We're here to experience pain and trauma. We're here to struggle. Lean into it. Accept it. Be it. Ground in it. And when you know who it is that you are, and you have a safe and stable connection to yourself, to your physical body, to the earth, then maybe open up your third eye and your crown to experiencing new information. People are crazy right now because there's too much information. They're bringing too much into their mental plane and not spending enough time taking care of their physical bodies and coming up with a healthy practice in order to keep them rooted to who it is that they are and who it is that they're designed to be here in this physical earth realm. So the rapid inner realm is happening for a reason. We have to expand. We have to go through this state because we're in Aquarius season and because Mercury is about to move into Aquarius energy, where we have to push the boundaries of what it is that we think, what it is that we believe, especially as far as possibilities go. And then we're preparing to dive deep into the depths of our soul space when we enter into Pisces energy. And we're going to start hacking and cutting away anything that does not free us, liberate us, to move on, to be light beings, to initiate new paths of creation so that we can be inspired in our inner realm and channel it through our physical body and actually create something that we can leave a mark on this earth about. We are creators. We are here to create. Pretty hard to create when you don't engage your physical body and you just live in your mind all day. The key to creating is letting that beautiful brilliance out of your mind and using your physical body as a channel and a conduit in order to bring it to life. That's what this is all about. Most people just fail to realize that connection. Just want all the wisdom and all the knowledge and want to know about telepathy and want to know about past lives and want to know about their guides and their soul contracts. None of that matters if you aren't connected to who it is that you are. You're here in this life. Your past life doesn't really matter in the context of this life. Yeah, sometimes it can be helpful to know what you're here to do, but if you were in touch with yourself in the here and now, you would know what to do. I am frustrated. I'm sure you can hear that by now. Anyways, we're going to have a lot of pressure in our head. This is going to continue to add to the pressure that we've been having in our sinuses, the moving headaches that we've been having, the constant need to swallow, to unclog, the pressure in our ears as if we were on an airplane and that pressure in our ears takes over where it feels like things are muffled. There can be an itchiness in our ears. I don't think many of us are going to have that itchiness in our ears until in the latter part of the week, which is an indicator that we are starting to listen to our higher selves and to the signs and symbols around us. Right now, we're not hearing it. We don't want to hear it. We're in a state of delusion right now. Pisces season kicked in early for a lot of us. Delusion, disassociation, distraction is the name of the game right now. Why? Because avoidance and escapism are the name of the game in Pisces energy. And Venus is in Pisces energy, and she should be focusing in on, being real with herself and getting real on what she's not happy with and who she's not happy with. Instead, she's just walking around with these rose-colored glasses on, not realizing that the universe is about to bitch slap her in a very hard way where she's going to have to fall to her knees and really kind of, I'm going to say, be responsible and accountable for her own fantasy land that she's living in. And when I speak about the planets in this way, this affects all of us. There's parts of us that get triggered and activated with these planetary aspects. And that's very much one that I'm seeing a common pattern of as of late is this Pisces energy. And to be this disassociative, this delusional, this avoidant, this escapist with just Venus in Pisces, my goodness, what are we going to do when the sun moves into Pisces, when Mercury moves into Pisces? My goodness, we have a very interesting month plus a week left before we are going to be reborn again in the fire energy that is going to bring back our physical energy, our physical action, our passion, our desire, our clarity, our aggression, our assertion, our excitement. All of that is coming, but it's not coming until Aries season pops off at the end of March. So the ears, we're still muffled. We're still kind of feeling like there's water in those ears, constantly clicking. The pressure, again, still you think the pressure was bad over the last couple of weeks. You wait till Mercury actually locks into that Aquarian energy. There are wheels spinning that you didn't even know you had. That's just going to add to the pressure in the head that we've already been experiencing. Because Mercury is moving into Aquarius energy and the thirst, the quest for knowledge and wisdom is on, you best believe that we are going to feel the thirst in our physical bodies. It is highly recommended that you continue to hydrate, even though you're probably not wanting to hydrate. There's this very strange disconnect where we're hungry and we're thirsty, but yet we don't want to eat or drink. And when we do, suddenly we feel like it was the wrong thing to do. Again, we're going through a recalibration when we jump timelines. That is always expected. We have a solar plexus activation happening right now, which is pushing us into getting really real and vulnerable with who it is that we've been, who it is that we currently are, and who it is that we desire to be. There's a rebranding going on. A lot of that is being enforced with Jupiter and Chiron in this Aries energy as well. We have them doing a pretty intense meetup in March. Go ahead, listen to the energy forecast that I put out for 2023, part 1, where we cover the very first months of this year and what March is all about. Definitely a banger to get ahead of the game on. We're going to be feeling the monotony, the Groundhog Day-ish energy very, very intensely. as we move through this next week. What do I mean by that? Well, I think we're all kind of stuck in a rut, waking up on autopilot, going through the same old tasks, the same old chores, not really being present in our day. Because why? We know what's going to happen. We do it every day. But the monotony is going to become a little bit heavier and weighted, mostly because we have to reach a breaking point. Keep in mind, we're in the point of the calendar where we need to be broken down in order to prepare for a breakthrough. And we're also in the time of monotony needing to be very much in our faces because we're in Aquarius season. We have Mercury moving into Aquarius energy. And this is an energy and an effort to try and spice life up a bit, to do things in new ways, to bring a presence back into our here and now, to see where we can improve the methods and the processes that we go through each and every single day, where it is that we can work smarter, not harder. And so the monotony of living Groundhog Day needs to become very, very much in our faces in order for us to get so frustrated to say, you know what, that's it. I got to make a change here. I got to do something different. I got to switch things up a bit. This is a time of experimentation. And then we dive into Pisces energy, which kind of strips away all of the things that we're done with, that we've grown out of, that we're needing to close the door on, needing to put a death to in order for there to be a space for us to actually establish new routines, relationships, new, missions and purposes. All of that becomes revealed when we hit a brick wall and we're tired of banging our head off said brick wall, in order for us to kind of think outside of the box and say, okay, I realize I'm stuck into a box. I realize I do the exact same things every day. I realize I have no F's to give. What can I do to make a change? What is that change all about? What is my heart asking me to do? My heart and soul asking me to do? This is all a preparatory energy, peeling back the layers, breaking us down in order to be reborn, resurrected when we move into this new astrological calendar in March. So I want you to pay attention to itchy spots. Yes, you might feel like the itchiness is inside you, an itch that you can't seem to scratch. That is a positive sign of healing for sure. But I want you to pay attention to itchy spots like on your body, maybe dry patches of skin, maybe just, itches that you expect for there to be like a bug bite or something there, and there's just nothing really there. There might be little pimples or little like bumps in weird places, and that's an indicator as well on where it is that the healing energies are trying to kind of, push out the old codes, push out the old pain and trauma in order to rewrite into something new. But we're going to have to kind of see and feel a little bit of dysfunction in our skin, because of course our skin is the largest organ and our last line of defense that is a messenger on what it is that's going on inside of us. So we have to pay attention to what's going on in our skin changes. But I also want you to pay attention to your hands. So broken nails, hang nails, cuts for no reason. Maybe you're having little mini accidents, jamming your hands or jamming your fingers in the door, spraining a finger. Again, our hand chakras trying to come back online, trying to reach the new levels of actually being able to exert power out in the world. We're not in a time to take action. We're not in a time to exert our magic out through our hand chakras. However, that doesn't mean that we're not trying to get them primed up and ready. We're trying to practice here, but there's still some clogging going on in our hand chakras, and that's going to manifest in all of the signs and symptoms that I just rattled off. The last thing that I want to talk about, and this can be probably its own rant. So the tailbone is becoming very sore. I want to talk about that for a second. So first of all, and I don't like to talk about, I'm going to say this very cryptically. Hopefully you can read between the lines. I don't like to talk about blood types very often because the spiritual and new age community is a little bit too transparent with those people that have the Rh negative blood type. There's a reason why they want you to be talking about that so openly, so publicly. You have a very magical bloodline that is going to be very sought after, especially when this whole harvesting thing comes to fruition. So keep your blood type to yourself. However, there are many of us that are connected through some qualities and characteristics that are in our biological meat suits, not only blood, but vertebrae. And tailbone being a very special area of interest because they're, well, you know what? I'll leave it here. If you're in the know, then you know what I'm talking about. And if you're not in the know, then you don't need to worry about it. Okay? So we'll just package it up just like that. But basically, the tailbone is very painful, very much activated at this particular time. A couple of reasons for that is because we are collapsing the old matrix, and the old matrix is connected to the root chakra in our butt, in the base of our spine, technically. And when the matrix gets recoded, so does our survival programming. And when our survival programming gets initiated and activated and triggered, we feel that in our tailbone. So it might be very hard to sit. It might be very painful to sit. It might feel like your tailbone is kind of like protruding outwards when it's actually not. This is a good opportunity to get up off of your ass, figuratively speaking, and to work through those particular codes through your body. Now, that is our survival programming. So one would have to suggest that not only do you have to engage the physical body in movement that would release some of the tension point in that particular area of your body, but you would also have to examine your inner narrative and the inner emotional programming that goes with the survivor programming that many of us are living in. Again, how can you explore the top realms of the chakras, opening your crown and opening your third eye, if you do not have a solid base to connect you to yourself and to your earth? And this is, again, where the tailbone is coming in, and the dysfunction and the uncomfortability and the discontentment is coming in because of this particular part of the body. Because, again, the matrix coding has changed. We're in a timeline, we're in a storyline, we're in soul contracts that do not have the same need for the survival programming that we were essentially born into. So we are being brought a lot of attention to this particular area of our body, and we really need to connect the dots between the mind, the body, the soul, on what is happening when the code of our existing matrix collapses and new coding actually gets activated. And when we go through the unconscious part of ourselves in order to bring that part into our awareness, we may see why there's such a dysfunction, a discomfortability in our butts, literally. Like, our realities right now are the pain in our butts, okay? Pay attention, and I will say to you, ask yourself this multiple times a day. What or who is a pain in my ass? Okay? This is going to help you frame up what it is that you're done with, what it is that you need to end, what it is that you need to change. This is the question you need to ask yourself. Who and what is a severe pain in my ass right now? And that is why you're having the manifestation in the tailbone. That is why you're being pushed to examine what it is that's going on in the tailbone, because there's some narratives and emotions there that need to be recoded now that we've moved into this particular reframing, if you will, of the existing matrix programming. I hope that makes sense. Again, if you understand what I'm talking about, then good, you get it. And if you don't understand what I'm talking about, pay no mind, no worry, doesn't affect you, doesn't matter. I just wanted to put it out there that this is an aspect, haha, no pun inquired, or no pun needed, I should say, or intended. But this is the aspect that we need to be talking about in order for us to get down to the nitty gritty and understand what is changing in our lives, what we're resisting letting go of. And essentially speaking, like I said, the best thing you can be asking yourself multiple times a day is who and what is the severe pain in my ass? So guys, that is the motivational speech that I'm going to leave you with. Hopefully you can find some humor and sarcasm in it all. I hope that you resonated with some of the messages that we talked about here today. I do appreciate you spending your time with me. And of course, I'm sending you nothing but love. I hope you have a beautiful week. I hope that you navigate the energies with as much grace and ease as possible. And I hope that you're kind to yourself and that you just accept whatever mood, whatever attitude, whatever funk you may wake up in, and just invite it. Just ask it what it absolutely is here to teach you. I think that we're all going to have some pretty profound revelations over this next week. And I would really hope that you let your past really be invited into the present moment, because it is going to reveal a lot of very powerful aha moments on where it is that you need to project your future. I want to thank you for being here. I want to send you nothing but love. And of course, I'll talk to you soon.